Yeah, it would have been back to just after the Saturn return. And it's coming up. So Saturn's coming up. 2015, Uranus opposed to Venus through 2015. Well, okay, we'll look at Pluto first. Pluto, 2016, 15, 16, nothing. In 16, Pluto's been squaring Venus. And it's doing it right up to now. No, even to the end of this year. Pluto's squaring the Venus. There's confrontations around love, around appreciation, around money, around how much we can afford, and how much I'm being appreciated. What's happening? There's significant threats around this. This is a threat to her value system. It's Pluto. There's an audit going on. Pluto has this heart. It forces you to deal with reality, to look at the unpleasant, or to realize I can't always get what I want with Pluto to Venus. But at the same time, it forces one to ask, is there a God or isn't? Am I living just about getting things, or is there a spiritual side inside? What's true, what's not? What's my self-worth or not? So according to her Libra plans, if we're going to do this, we're going to do that, Pluto's going to be, has been squaring her Venus. If she's coming to see you now, Pluto would be squaring her Venus even as it just finished last month. So she's just coming out of the last 4 battles, but one more hit of it before she's to it. So she knows what this is. There's some contradiction around money, around love, around what she's doing, around the game plan. And I think it's expensive to maintain both worlds in 2 different places. So either there could be a battle between, do I keep coming back to Canada and be around the kids and family, or do I let go and do I just adjust and go down to the States? Even if she does, there's going to be effort to adjust to new marketing laws or new stuff. But does she do both? Or maybe there's just pressures on where it may be more difficult for her to get away. Or maybe she gets away and there's still problems calling her back. So we don't know with Pluto. It could come from a lot. It could be, what if her husband is getting sick and having more difficulty getting around? And isn't able to carry his end that much? He's older. And she's having to put up with things or having to work harder to keep everything going. So some pressure was here that Pluto can't keep going. She has to survive it. She's 3/4 of the way through it. There's one more hit of Pluto squaring her Venus, August, September, October, November. I think November is usually when she leaves to go down to the States for the winter. This past winter, she was in the States, but it was difficult this whole last year. So I haven't been in touch with her during this time. But I know this is there. It's lifting now, comes back in the fall, but next winter and for the next number of years, Pluto's not hitting the Venus, so she'll have decided what I'm not getting, what I want, where I'm going, all of this. Some of this struggle, I believe, for being the astrologer, or knowing the astrology and knowing enough to be able to do charts, but never being able to make enough money from it that she would have made doing the real estate. Maybe it's a struggle. Do I start doing what I want? I can't do that now because I got to carry too much. So it could be that pressure of carrying that. But some decision is happening. She's not happy. She's afraid. She doesn't know how much she can carry. It's not going the way she wants. And there's confrontations to this. And she can't quit. She's having to fight it. She's having to face it. But there's a tough love, and it's hitting this nerve. It could be a kid in trouble. It could be a kid having trouble and demanding money until she can't give anymore. We don't know what it is. We know that Pluto's hitting the Venus. We know that we're walking into a harsh reality to talk to her. She's going to be sensitive about this issue. She's going to know what it is. You'd have to just ask her, what's going on? There's a lot of emotional blocks or problems. What's going on? What are you fighting with? And then the issue comes up, and then you go, well, you have to be real. You have to be true. You have to do the audit, look at this realistically, and you have to do what's true. You can't fake it. You know, it's if you have a kid and they're involved in trouble, or they're doing they have an addiction or something, you can't keep paying for them. If the kid wanted to move in, but it would spoil the marriage, you might have to say no to the kid to save the marriage. Or it's hard to know. There's some harsh emotional reality. Her Venus, maybe she can't keep working. Maybe the laws being made, the things being changed between Canada and States are affecting her finances too strongly. Maybe it's the market downswing, but it's been going on for a couple of years. So I think there's probably the good and the bad sitting right beside each other and forcing, where do I go? Forcing a decision on her side. Okay, that's the Pluto to the Venus. But at the same time as Pluto's hitting the Venus, last year, it squared the ascendant. Then it went forward. This year, it's just lifted off the Venus, but it's still squaring the ascendant all year. And then by August, it goes back to squaring the Venus. By November, it goes back to squaring the ascendant. So this whole year, there's Pluto issues. So suppose the husband's retired, older than her, and he's retired, and he wants to stay in the South, away from her family and stuff like this, or he can't get around as much. Maybe he's got problems. And it's forcing her, can she maintain both, or what some pressure, there's certainly pressure going on. Some confronting situation is challenging her reality and her relationship at this time. So I get the image I get is she's on the dock, one foot's on the dock, one foot's on the boat. The dock is like the home in Canada, the other place. The boat is the other place, and they're moving away. She's having to choose, where am I going to be? What's real here? What do I want? And there's some harsh necessity going on inside of some fear. Inside of, well, if I went all the way down to the States and I just left the family and the husband died, what would happen? You know, or if I stay. So in the end, the fear about money and the confrontations about relationships, Saturn, Pluto hitting the ascendant, it's coming from the 10th house. Do I work or don't I? I mean, why should I work if I don't get the life, if I don't need to, if I don't want to? But I think with Pluto there, she's always worked, and Saturn up there, her strength is in her working, even though it's not as pleasant as she wants to be, even though it's not making as much. She's still in a strong position. Her strength is out around career. And I think if she gave up her work to just be at home, she would lose a lot of authority and power, and it would really cramp her lifestyle. But something's forcing these issues out. So I'm not sure what it is, but we see it. You're walking into a storm. There's some therapy. There's some intense things going on, and real powerful decisions have been made. She's half afraid. She's half knowing. She knows what it is. Whether she wants to face it or not, I don't know, but you're going to have to go in and talk about these things and be the mirror and ask the questions to talk about it when this is coming up. So because of Pluto hitting the Venus and the ascendant, I know it's something about her personal life, what's happening, what's going on. Like, it's possible health related, possible most likely partner relationship. Maybe he can't maintain the same lifestyle she wants to maintain. And we're going to force changes. I mean, once this finishes, it goes through all of this year, part of next year, but by 2021, it's lifting, it's changing. So possibly the fear of letting go, like Pluto, you don't quit. You hold in, you fight it out, and you wait till it lifts. You know, you stop, you cut out what's not real. So it could be something about living up to financial commitments. But I think personally, she's used to having a job that makes good money and is functional and pays for a lot of things. She carries everything. Maybe she can't carry things so much anymore. She's getting tired. So to square the ascendant. And she's so capable of being the astrologer, maybe, but it wouldn't make the same amount of money, but it would give her a lifestyle that she would love. She's not ready to necessarily do that right now, but she has options as things move on, going on. So as Pluto goes on in 2022, Pluto squaring her Mercury, and that's using her mind and thinking and having to use her ideas and make use of things. So that's where she could, through 21, 22, she could start setting up a whole other thing that's not the career she had. But she's losing her financial security, changing her financial security. We don't know if it's a win or a loss. There's a battle. You know, like, and I don't know, I just see it. So then we look at Neptune. Where's the confusion? There's no Neptune problems this past 4 years. It's not a deceptive, it's not about delusion, not about deception, not about affairs, it's more about how much can you deal with? How much is it making? How is it worth it? What do I want? I shouldn't want the same things anymore. She might be afraid of just being at home and not working. But Neptune's not a problem. But in 2022, Neptune hits the Mars. And then Neptune confuses its sexuality, but at this stage, none of it's sexualized. But what am I doing? She may not be able to work that much work, and that would be the same. Then she might have to be supportive of her husband. He might be weaker or whatever with the Neptune, or one of the kids, or some confusing element affecting what she's doing. So, but that's, again, too far ahead to imagine, but you can see it's never going to be simple. She's got a very active her 8-year graph is really powerfully active right now. This whole 4 years ahead, 4 years back. 2021 is a calm, okay. So Neptune's not a problem, but she has to watch she doesn't make things more. If she decided to let a kid come home and move in with her, then all of a sudden there would be more difficulties trying to get them out or trying to get what's happening with the Neptune hitting the Mars. Again, Mars is in the 6th house, so do I work or don't I work? What am I doing? Like confusion around work, maybe around permits, right? Oh. You know, they issues. Yeah, so where, you know, the pressure of where am I living? Am I here? Am I there? Do I live where do I stay all year in the wind in this warm climate, or do I stay around the family? What are you afraid of? What's true? What's real? You know, you have to walk into this issue. You don't know how it's going to resolve at this point, but you know she's working through it anyways, and to be able to communicate about it would be useful because no one's probably talking to her about it. Or if they are, she's intimidated by it. Sometimes people go through therapy. Sometimes people go through the disenchantment of whatever. It's like a lot of times Pluto is send it to Venus. It's kind of like, imagine you're this nut, okay? And here's this nut in a shell. And Pluto comes along, hits it, and smash. The nut's smashed. The shell's being smashed. Wow, you're still a nut, but you don't have the shell anymore. It's sensitive, it's vulnerable. Oh my goodness. But that nut can grow into a tree, and it couldn't as long as it was stuck into the shell that hadn't shattered. So even though Pluto is scary and terrifying, it really wakes you up on it. It is a spiritual angel. It can wake you up to what's spiritually true and what's not, which side of the fence are you on. If she's not getting what she wants, she can't take it anymore. So it's about choices she made, what she wants, and not being able to follow those choices and what's next. Okay, so now we looked at Pluto. There's not the deception going on, but there's some worry about not knowing what I'm doing or confusing work scenarios or physical scenarios during 2022. Not primary concern at this point. But look at Uranus over the last 4 years. Uranus squared Venus 2015, 2016, and conjuncted the ascendant. It shook her up, but it freed her identity, but shook up her values. Shook up what she wanted. She lost something, she gained something. Then the confrontation started coming around this. And I know in these couple of years she was taking her winters and getting away with the husband, but so there's something being won and her being free, but there's something being lost in Uranus opposing her Venus. There was financial or emotional shock at that point. So maybe it was financial shock and disruption. And finally, she had to work a little extra harder or something to decide, I have to keep doing this to be able to maintain this lifestyle, the Pluto to the Venus. But Uranus this past year is opposing Mercury, so her plans would not be stable. We got to do this, we got to do that. Uranus, which is in her 4th house squaring her Mercury, is on the ascendant, or in the 1st house squaring her Mercury. So what security, what am I doing? She's not, should I do this, should I? So she's had a lot of worry, like she's thinking a lot, it's anxious, but there's a problem, it's not resolving. It's the Mercury worrying is leaving right now, this February, as we were doing this chart. So if we were doing the consultation, we'd be walking right into it and saying, well, what's being left behind? Where are you going? You don't, once you make this decision, you don't have these worries anymore. You can't keep, and there's no more Uranus shocks about worries. So she's at a point of making big decisions now that will have difficulty to live up to, but it's easy to put up with them. She only has to put up with this problem for a year or so, and then it starts opening up. No big shocks. So even though we don't know what it is, we're imagining whatever pieces we have, trying to put together, we're seeing a texture of where this person is in time. They're coming in to talk to you. This is why I like people to see the graphs and things I'm working with, so I can say, well, look at this is what's happening, and this implies this implies this. They say, well, then they're seeing it set up, and they're asking you, well, could it be this, or will it have to do this? What does this mean? It's just this, or does it mean it's all over? Does it mean, what do I have to do? And sometimes there's a therapy, sometimes there's different choices.